Hello everyone, welcome back to another Commander review for Magic the Gathering. We are starting in this not actual set, but this is like one of the fun little extra releases that Wizards did called From the Vault. This is the first From the Vault. This is From the Vault Dragons. So we're going to talk about 5 dragons, all reprints, so this is all going to be part 2s of all of these dragons, but these are iconic dragons that we've already talked about in this series, so I'm not going to go into too much depth about the rules of each of these commanders or how to play with them. I'm just going to simply do a brief overview of the card, a brief overview of the rules, and then 2 new deck ideas that I have not already talked about for this commander. Let's get right on into it with Bladewing the Risen. Bladewing the Risen, zombie dragon, 4/4, costs 7 mana. Still has flying, has this great reanimation ability for dragon permanents in your graveyard, and it has a unique fire breathing where instead of 1 red, it's black and red, but it gives all your dragons +1/+1 until end of turn. So a very much more powerful fire breathing ability for all of your dragons. One thing that I will make note that you might want to be aware of with this card is as Wizards of the Coast gets more and more into the kindred archetypes of cards, there probably will come a day or a time, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, but we will probably get kindred dragon permanents, whether that's artifacts that have the dragon subtype, or whether that's enchantments that have the dragon subtype, maybe a battle that has the dragon subtype. I have no idea. But as we get more and more kindred support, the possibility that this card could reanimate something besides a dragon creature is very likely. So that is very fun to think about. There is one artifact that has the changeling keyword, so it technically is a dragon in its text, but I don't remember what its name is. It came in Lorwyn. I think it's some sort of kind of mana rock. So that is something you can reanimate with this commander. Still no card rulings for this commander. Just bear in mind, Kindred is getting a lot more support these days. The first thing I want to talk about as a new deck idea that I haven't talked about already for this commander kind of goes into the theme of what are dragons known for? Well, dragons are known for having vast treasures. This is kind of a weird look into like lore of dragons. They have vast treasures, vast wealth. They protect their throne. So I was like, oh, dethrone is kind of cool. And then I went from dethrone mechanic to the monarch mechanic. I was like, cool. You want the monarch, you want to protect the monarch because you are a dragon and you are hoarding the monarchy. So kind of a pillow fort style deck for this commander, but all of your dragons are going to care about the monarch. You're going to have other cards that care about the monarch, and you're going to want to protect the monarch with Bladewing the Risen, which is great because you can protect it with 1 dragon, and when that dragon dies, you can reanimate it with Bladewing, and then you'll have 2 dragons to defend your treasure trove. The other thing I thought about was Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, oh, well, obviously that's an easy lore fit there, Dungeons and Dragons. So get a bunch of dragons that care about the initiative, which goes right along with the monarch. You want to protect the initiative, and there are dragons that can give you the initiative. There are other cards that can take back the initiative if you need, and you play the same kind of game style where you are building a defensible wall that you want to protect and keep your initiative and protect your treasure trove from your opponents with your army of dragons. Going right along with that theme of this pillow fort idea, but with dragons as the main creature type, is goading. There are certain dragons that care about goaded creatures and forcing your opponents to attack. So we could go goading as well. And then lastly, playing along with cards that necessarily don't go with the pillow fort theme, but they care about you having dragons, because this is still going to be a dragon tribal deck, is having creatures that are going to benefit you for having dragons in play, having cards like the Dragon Storm cards, the red one or the black one, where you get this cool effect when it enters the battlefield, and then you're able to do it again when a dragon enters your battlefield because it'll return to your hand. which you're going to be doing a lot because you're going to be reanimating with Bladewing, you're going to be getting Bladewing into play, and all of that fun stuff. So like a Pillow Fort deck with the Monarch, with Goad, with the Initiative, and you're going to have Dragons as your sub-theme, so that way your Bladewing can reanimate your good Dragons to get benefits from the Monarch, from the Initiative, from Goading. And then lastly, a different deck idea. I was trying to think of like, what's something weird we could do, right? One of the things that we've seen over the past couple of years is we have gotten a few dragons that have spells attached to them. I did not look to see if we had any prepared dragons, like dragons that could have prepared spells, because the first thing I thought of was the Omen mechanic. And so I was like, oh, well, there's dragons that we can actually use for spells, instants, and sorceries. And we could do that over and over, because you cast it, it gets shuffled back into your library, and so on and so forth. And we also have adventure dragons that you can cast the instant or sorcery, and then later cast the dragon. And I was thinking, what if we did like a tribal deck, a typal deck, or a kindred deck that was all about dragons, because that's what Bladewing cares about, but we made it a Spellslinger style dragon deck that cares about casting instants and sorceries, that cares about casting multiple spells with like Storm or something like that. And so I kind of went on this tangent of non-dragon spells, or dragon spells that had non-creature spells attached to them, and making it kind of a Spellslinger instant sorcery deck, but it had dragons again as like the meat of the content. This deck idea will probably need some time to get a little bit more help with. With that said, I'm pretty sure there are plenty of Spellslinger dragons that don't necessarily have spells attached to them, but they do care about you casting instants and sorcery spells, or there are dragons that enable you to cast instant and sorcery spells. So there's that outlet as well, and there are dragons. And then Bladewing can be your reanimation piece to reanimate your key dragons you need to pull to finish with the victory of the game, right? So a lot of cool non-creature spells that care about dragons that can give you these great advantages. And then obviously we want to have cards that benefit when we play instants and sorceries. So again, like I said, there are dragons that do care about giving you benefits when you cast instants and sorceries, but we can also look beyond that to get a little extra support from things like Professor Onyx, who do always care about instants and sorceries, who will be able to get us a lot of effects, and kind of make this weird dragon-based Spellslinger deck. And I think that would be very interesting to see and hear about. I'd love to get your guys' comments about it in the comment section down below. And that's going to do it for Bladewing the Risen. So all the dragons in this set are S tier, even with the new way that I've done the tier bracketing system, because not only are there 10 or more deck ideas for these commanders, but each of the 10 deck ideas that I was looking at had a variety of decks built around it. 5 or more decks built around each of those ideas. And I'm not surprised by that at all. All the dragons in this from the vault are very iconic, very powerful, very popular. So very cool to see that even with this heavily restricted tier list that I have, we still had a bunch of S tier cards. Really awesome commanders to play with. I can't wait to talk about the rest of them. Let me know what you guys think about Bladewing the Risen, whether it was from this video or from the last video, the deck ideas we talked about, and thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!